Deadlock can be an incredibly frustrating game, and it can be even worse when there's a rank on the line. And with the recent ranked update, a lot of people right now just really want to win so that they can show off their shiny badge to their friends, which is completely understandable. Today, I'm going to give you 5 tips that will meaningfully improve your experience in rank, and these are the culmination of almost everything that I've learned coaching people for the past 2 years in Deadlock. So let's start with tip number 1, which is the mindset, okay? For this tip, there is no gameplay. It's really just about how you think about the game. When it comes to competitive games, it's really just a battle between you and the game, right? Like, of course, it's a team game. There's other people involved. There's so many variables. But at the end of the day, one of the biggest differences is how you approach the game. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you is a little bit counterintuitive in that it's that you shouldn't try to chase wins. Now, of course, wanting to win, you want to rank up your badge, right? Let's say you placed Brick, you want to become Seeker, you want to become Acolyte, you want to rank up through the ranks. It makes a lot of sense. However, if you chase rank too hard, it's actually going to be counterproductive. When you're playing solely with the intent of winning, you're limiting your own potential, right? You're going to be stuck in the same gameplay loops because you're just going to take whatever gameplay loop has worked for you and you're just going to do that over and over again. And if the game ever goes outside of the variables that you feel comfortable in, you're not going to know what to do and you're going to try to resort to what worked and you're not going to be developing yourself as a player. So it might give you short-term results, but it's going to prevent long-term growth. And at the end of the day, when it comes to rank systems, you will almost always get the rank that you deserve with enough time and games. Now, of course, this system is quite grindy, but hopefully they change that in the future. But usually you should be able to get the rank that you deserve as long as you are the skill level required. So to me, the biggest focus is focusing on improving your gameplay rather than focusing on winning. Now, one of the biggest reasons why this really matters is because when you focus on winning, you're making your own gameplay experience worse, right? Like I've heard so many people that are like, oh, you win one, you lose one, you've lost 2 hours of your life. You know, the queue has been worthless. And that's just thinking about it completely the wrong way, right? You need to switch your mindset. Instead of thinking, oh, I haven't gained any MMR and therefore I've wasted my time, I want you guys to approach the game with specific goals in mind that you can work on so that no matter the result of the game, you can at least feel that you worked on those objectives. At the end of the day, you're going to lose about 40% of your games no matter how well you play. It's incredibly difficult to have a win rate above 60%, even though it can be done. So you have to accept losses are going to be part of the experience, and it's up to you to decide what to do with those losses. So my advice is always start a gaming session with some sort of specific goal to work on in mind. Now, some of the easiest goals to work on in Deadlock are just timers, for example, right? Always being on time at the buffs. Always being on time for the urn, you know, the rift, the objectives, right? Being at the small camp when it spawns at 2 minutes. These are extremely simple, concrete objectives that you can work on. And no matter the result of the game, after the game, you can ask yourself, did I actually succeed at working on these? Did I do it right? And if you did it, then at least you can feel some sort of sense of, you know, progress towards your goal. Now, for my second advice, it's don't be afraid of dying. Okay, so many people start playing scared. I'm going to use this game as an example, and I'll show you guys some in-game examples after I explain the concept. But the first thing is, a lot of people are scared of dying in ranked, right? Because they're like, oh, I don't want to throw the game for my team. This is ranked. I want to make sure that my placements go well, right? And that usually leads to people playing way more scared than they usually are, which is not a good thing at all. Deadlock is a game that rewards aggression. And a lot of deaths in Deadlock they don't matter that much. So I'm taking this game for example, right? Because if I look at the deaths this game here, at 13 minutes, I had 6 deaths on Lash, and it's not like I had a lot of kills. I believe I was 1 in 6. So I actually went in game just to check this out. So as you can see here, I'm 1, 6, and 5. I know my camera might be blocking it a little bit, but at 12 minutes and 22 seconds, I'm 1, 6, and 5, which I think pretty much everyone would agree is a really bad KD, right? And you might think, wow, that's, you know, you should really avoid that in ranked. But if you pay attention and you look closely at the souls, right, you can see that I'm not actually that far behind most people. For example, if we compare my souls to the Doorman, or let's say the Shiv is 1, 1, and 3, right? And I have the same amount of souls. The Bebop here has 4 kills, 5 deaths. I have the same amount of souls. Of course, I'm not going to be anywhere near as many souls as this Wraith right here, or, you know, this McGinnis, but my souls compared to the rest of my team are not even that bad, right? Hayes is 4 and 2. I'm only 1.6k souls behind. And in Deadlock, one play can give you those 1.6k souls back. So what are the criteria to actually determine whether a death is good or bad? Usually I focus on 4 things. The time in the game, the location of your death, how many enemies were involved in your death, and did you have unsecured souls? So let's look at my last death and see what the criteria were for this one. So for this last death here, I go to the rift, right? It looks like there's 2 enemies. It's 11 minutes into the game. which is pretty early. And here it looks like I'm playing to just stall the rift, right? So I would ask myself, okay, how early is in the game? It's 12 minutes. This is usually good. Dying before 20 minutes is not that big of a deal because respawn timers are very, very short and you don't lose much here, right? And I'm playing for an objective, which is the rift. If I manage to stall it for my team, maybe we can win it, and that would be a massive victory, of course, right? Location of your death. Usually you want to die past the halfway point of the map. So if you die on their side of the map, it's a lot better than dying on your side of the map because they're not going to be able to get, you know, as much off of your death. In this situation, I'm dying right in the middle, so it's not the best location, but it's not the worst either. How many enemies are involved in my death? So here there's 2 enemies. I would say 2 enemies is not great. Usually you would want to die to 3 people or more because the soul split is really punishing when 3 or more people kill you. Whereas 2 people, they're still going to get a lot of souls from my kill, so this is not the best. And did I have any unsecured souls? I did not have any unsecured souls. So overall, is this a good death? Not really. But is this a game-losing death? Also, no, right? So that's what I want you guys to realize. Generally speaking, if you're dying before 20 minutes on the enemy side of the map without an unsecured soul bag and like 3 or more enemies were nearby your death, it's usually fine. It's actually sometimes even good, especially if you kill a wave, because you create a bunch of space for your team. And even if your team doesn't use that space, you yourself don't lose that much. So my point here is not go ahead and feed. My point here is if you die a lot, especially in the early game, it doesn't really matter. As you can see here, my last death was at 12 minutes, and then the whole game I went 0 deaths, and I ended up getting MVP for this game. Deadlock is a game that rewards aggression, it rewards risk, and especially if you have something like Trophy Collector or other items that, you know, really reward you for fighting early. And if you ever get like a walker for taking a risk before 15 minutes, then you just get a massive amount of rewards. Same for solo kills. So definitely don't play super passive just because it's ranked. My third piece of advice is let waves dictate your plays. So I think most people understand pushing waves is good. Most people don't push waves enough. Or if you push waves enough, you don't understand why you should push waves or what you should do with them. So the first thing is, if you want to take any fight, just try to push a wave beforehand, right? That's my main piece of advice is like, okay, you want to take a fight? If there's a wave to push it beforehand. Now, if you're playing very high level deadlock like you were Eternus before, this might not 100% apply to you. There's some situations where you actually don't want to push the wave to use the element of surprise, but for most of you, this will be very sound advice. Now, anytime you push a wave, I'm going to let this play out for a little bit, but anytime you push a wave, you essentially buy time to do whatever you want, right? When you push a wave, for example, I'm about to push this wave, right? Once I clear this wave, I'm buying myself 30 to 45 seconds to do whatever I want on the map. Okay. And the reason why that is because it's going to take about 30 seconds for the next wave to respawn. And then it's going to take another 15 seconds for that wave to get to my walker. So that means I have roughly 30 to 45 seconds before the wave becomes an issue that I have to deal with again. So I clear this wave. I can do anything, right? I could gank. I could look for a kill. I could look to push this walker. It doesn't really matter what I do. Well, it does matter, but like, you know, the point is the options open up. When it comes to letting waves dictate your plays, I also want to add an additional piece of advice that applies specifically to late game scenarios. Now, I'm talking basically 25 plus minutes into the game. Very often in these scenarios, what you're looking to do is you're looking to pick someone off so that you can go mid-boss. Now, generally speaking, in order to do that, you want to make sure that 2 of your waves are in a good position. For example, if you look at the minimap in this example, we have the middle lane that is about even and the right lane that is pushing forward very aggressively. When you push a lane very aggressively, it's only fair to assume that the enemy team is going to respond at some point. And therefore, one of the most reliable ways to get a pick, especially in lower ranks where people might not expect it, is to set up on the wave that is pushing and wait for someone to respond. For example, in this situation, we set up on this wave and I'm going to let it play out. I'm communicating to my drifter and my rem, hey, I'm pretty sure someone's going to come clear this wave at some point. Let's just hide and wait and see who comes. And the moment they come, we can go on them. And we wait for quite some time. And this might look like we do nothing, right? But if you look at the waves as well, the middle wave is currently being dealt with, right? Like our Billy pushed it. Yamato's kind of getting gone on by Doorman, but nothing serious. I think she's just being Doorman ulted. So the waves are not bad. We have a lot of pressure on this wave. And so we're letting the wave dictate the play. Okay, we have a lot of pressure. Someone's going to respond probably. And we just wait patiently. And then inevitably, someone does come. And then we decide to go on them. And this actually ends up being like, I'm going to let the clip play out because it's kind of a funny fight. And it shows the power of McGinnis. But, you know, McGinnis standing in her heal is so difficult to kill. I even ult her. And we finally kill her, but it takes so long, right? So we use so much just to kill the McGinnis, and our Drifter actually dies. So in this situation, it doesn't really end up working out for us. But the main thing I wanted to get is, like, look at the logic, right? Before we make a play, you ensure the wave state is good. And so here the play was even, but look, our Haze was pushing left side. Our middle wave is probably going to be pushing in as well. So the wave state is completely fine, and it allows us to, you know, keep going, go for other plays, or if we don't want to keep going, we don't lose much on the map as well. All right, so for my next piece of advice, I'm going to be on the Wraith's POV in this game, and the piece of advice is stop jungling at critical times, all right? I see so many people that jungle when they shouldn't be. Now, jungling is extremely important, right? It can help you get a lead, and getting a lead in a game like Deadlock is one of the most important things that you can do, because having more souls than the enemy is really good. But you need to understand when not to jungle, right? So the easiest way to think about when not to jungle is if there's any objective or fight happening on the map, you should not be jungling. Because if you're not actively contributing pressure on the map while something is happening, you are contributing to losing your team the game. So I'm going to use this example here, right? Where this Wraith is on the side lane here. And as you can see, there's a fight happening on the other side of the map. And if the Wraith's team loses this fight, they could lose the game, right? Because if they lose this fight, it's mid-boss. However, there is literally no chance that Wraith can possibly make it to this fight in time. Now, some carry players might want to farm here, but the correct play is to apply pressure on this lane or to try to make it to the fight. Those are really the two plays that you have. So in this situation, Wraith is going to push this wave. However, I'm on Lash on the other team, and I'm really just trying to make it so that the Wraith cannot push this wave and cannot get the Walker. As you can see, we're both kind of like trading with each other, and we're both keeping each other here. So if my team decides to fight, well, Wraith won't be there. And if Wraith's team decides to fight, well, you know, I won't be there, right? So we're kind of keeping each other here. In this situation, this is benefiting me, right? Because Wraith is the highest net worth hero. I'm not the highest net worth hero on my team. So just the fact that I'm keeping her here is really good. As you can see, she's like trying really hard to kill me. I'm just clearing the wave because all I care about here is not actually killing the Wraith. I just care about keeping the wave shoved out so that she cannot possibly show up to the fight. Now, this fight actually does end up being a disaster for us, so I'm not going to let it play out. But the main thing that I want you guys to understand is, like, you see how this Wraith, while everything was happening, she was trying to actively apply pressure on the map, trying to get this Walker. And if she was against worse players that weren't defending the Walker, she would have gotten it for free. And getting solo Walkers and solo kills in Deadlock is one of the fastest ways to get a huge spike of money. So stop jungling when things are happening on the map and always try to poke holes in the enemy's defense. All right, my next piece of advice is going to be avoid large engagements early, or just in general, but in the first 20 minutes especially, unless you have Trophy Collector. So here it's just Lash gameplay going to be playing in the background, but realistically, in this game, I went for a lot of early engagements and I had a lot of deaths because I had Trophy Collector, and therefore I was taking a calculated risk of, okay, I'm going to go for these engagements and I'm going to try to, you know, get as many trophy stacks as possible so that I can hopefully, you know, generate pressure from my trophy stacks and generate a lot of money despite a lot of deaths early, because like I said, deaths early don't matter that much. But the reason why I'm telling you to usually avoid these fights unless you have Trophy Collector is because these fights don't actually get you that much money, right? Getting kills, and if the kills are split 4 ways, you really get very few souls. So we can see this on the wiki right here, but basically the hero kill distribution is right here. If there's one player that kills you, they get 125% of the value of the kill. If 2 players kill you, they each get 57%, which is for a total of 114%. If 3 players kill you, it's 84%. So as you can see, the moment you get 3 or more players involved in a kill, you get less than the full intended value of the kill. And when you get 6 players involved in a kill, the kill essentially gives you half value. So what I want you guys to understand is that from a soul perspective, getting 3 kills in a 6v6 is the same value as 1 solo kill, almost, right? Not exactly, but it's really close in value, right? 3 kills in a 6v6 is worth almost 1 solo. Now, if we look at it as a duo, so if you get 1 kill with 4 people, you get 68% of the value. You get 1 kill with 2 people, 114%. So 1 kill with 2 people is worth almost 2 kills with 4, once again, right? So usually you want to avoid that, and that's not even considering the fact that you guys are all in the same area of the map. You're all farming the same things. You're not catching all the waves, right? You're not jungling efficiently. So generally speaking, first 20 minutes, try to avoid big engagements. Now, the second reason why this is important is also an individual agency thing. So for the first, not for the first 20 minutes, but always, right? Do you think you're going to have more individual impact in a 2 versus 2 or in a 4 versus 4? I would much rather take a 2 versus 2 because I think I'm going to be able to influence the outcome of that 2v2 way more often than I'm going to be able to influence the outcome of that 4v4. It's just a numbers thing, right? Like in a 2v2, it's going to be way more reliant on my individual skill as a player. And I know that when I'm queuing into a game, I can trust my individual skill as a player and I want to rely on that. So generally speaking, smaller fights are going to benefit you more for all of these reasons. Also, at lower ranks, people have a tendency to overgroup in mid, so try to limit your time in the middle lane for this reason.